Thank you. Boy, I love following that. That is really exciting to see, and I look forward to hearing more about it. For the Just so everyone knows, from this point on, this is being recorded, and I will send you a download link to this particular section. What I'm about to show you is existing technology that you can take advantage of already. And I'm just going to get started. For those of you who have not met me at the Orlando Bug, or those from around the country who have not met me, my name is Terry Klein. That is my email address. One slide on introduction. I've been teaching people how to use software for 35 years. I am not a Bluebeam employee, but I used to work for what was a Bluebeam partner. And during that time, I became a certified instructor and consultant, and I've been teaching people to use Bluebeam for the last 5 or 6 years. It is my job at Infotech. I teach Bluebeam training, and what I'm going to cover in the next 27 minutes is a abbreviated version of a 2-hour class that we offer on Studio and Drawings. All right, so this is the agenda. I'm going to blast through these slides and get into it live. This is what I intend to cover. In order to use Bluebeam Studio or Bluebeam Drawing, the first thing you need is a Bluebeam ID. All right, so you need to go into Review, go to the Studio icon, and go to Create Account if you don't already have one, or log on. In fact, you don't even need Bluebeam or any of their products installed to get a Bluebeam ID. Bluebeam Drawings, which I'll cover in just a moment, is a big portion of it is a web-based portal. You can go to drawings.bluebeam.com, and it's got the exact same sign-in, create account interface, and you can create a Bluebeam ID directly on the cloud without ever having to install anything. And I know that's a real issue for a lot of people at agencies where IT has got your system completely locked down, where you can't install things and do various things like that. So that's always an option for you, is just go to the web to create your Bluebeam ID. So I'm going to start talking about Studio in general. What is Studio? And to me, it's the underlying part that's important. It's a cloud-based service for free that allows you to upload files and do something with them. That's what sets it apart from Bluebeam Drawings. It's got two sides of the coin. It's got Bluebeam Studio Sessions and Bluebeam Studio Projects. All right, I'm going to cover them both. The reason I have an asterisk next to free is that it is free, but there is a for-fee upgraded subscription-based service for Studio called Studio Prime that has enhanced folder automation tools and administrative capabilities, and that's not what I'm showing today. I'm just showing the free version. All right. So, sessions and projects, what's the difference? Well, sessions are for collaboration. It's a virtual conference room. Projects are for document storage. It's a virtual filing cabinet, the same way you would think of Dropbox or Box or Google Drive, along those lines. Studio sessions are limited to PDF only because they're all about markups and collaboration. Projects have unlimited file types. You want to upload a Revit BIM model to Studio Project? Go ahead. You can then allow other people to check it out, change it, put it back if you indeed wanted to do something like that. Studio sessions do have file size and quantity limits, whereas Studio projects do not. They both require a Bluebeam registered license for your product if you want to host a session or a project, but you do not need that to join and participate in an active session or project. In fact, I'm going to be logging in on a secondary computer I have using nothing but a version of Bluebeam that was installed, 9 months ago, that the trial basis ran out, and it's purely view only currently. So sessions, virtual conference room, you can set it up so it's open to anybody, limited to the people you've granted access. You can have a preset deadline where it automatically kicks everybody out, except for the host, and then limits their ability to get back in and continue to mark things up. You can allow simultaneous or consecutive markup activities. There's a great audit trail. Now here's the rules part of it is, you can invite as many people as you want to a session, but only up to 500 people at one time can be actively within your studio session. And it has a limit of 5,000 PDF files, and each of those has a limit of 1 gigabyte. but it does support 2D and 3D PDF markups unless you're working on an iPad using one of the Bluebeam applications on an iPad, because they just don't support the 3D component of it. Studio Projects, again, is a filing cabinet works with any file format. It again can be set up to allow specific people or anybody or various people in, and then you also have the ability to not only control people but various specific folder privileges that you can grant to all attendees, specific groups, or individual people. It has no limitation on participants and no limitation on file types, sizes, or quantities. It's got a great audit trail and revision control capabilities as well. Now, how does that differ from Bluebeam Drawings? All right, well, Bluebeam Drawings is another free cloud-based service where you can upload PDF files only and let people look at them. They can't manipulate them. They can't mark them up. They can't modify them. They can simply use them to look things up. It can work hand in hand and just does with Bluebeam Studio Projects, which I'll show you. In order to upload documents to the Bluebeam Drawings server, though, you have to be designated by your license manager as an uploader. Any person with a BBID can be granted view-only access, but only uploaders can upload documents, and uploaders will need a licensed copy of Bluebeam in order to be able to do that. There are 2 mobile apps that work with Bluebeam Drawings, and you can use those or you can just use a browser. There's one for the iOS and there's one for the Android. So Bluebeam, through Bluebeam Drawings, does now support the Android operating system. Now, when you go into a Bluebeam Drawing server and you want to utilize it, to do so, there's just 4 steps that you have to do. You have to create a Bluebeam Drawings project. All right. Now, you're going to see a list of studio projects when you first go into Bluebeam Drawings because the 2 handshake with each other. So you can either create a new Bluebeam Drawings project or you can actually pull from your studio project. One way or another, you're going to need to do step 2, and that is upload PDF files from a data source, either from one of your studio projects or from a local drive on your machine or a shared network drive or anywhere you can access PDF files to upload them. When you upload those PDF files, the next thing you'll have to do is you'll have to review and index them. In essence, what it will do is it will send you an email saying we're going to process these things, and it'll send you another email saying it's ready for you to look at it. And when you look at it, what you're checking is the title block information, the descriptive information, the category, did it accurately interpret the A111 discipline designator to know that this is an architectural floor plan, that sort of thing. You just want to verify that all that stuff is right. And then the last thing you would do is step number 4, which is publish those documents that have now been uploaded, reviewed, and indexed. And that is what makes them available to outside view-only participants, no matter how they're coming into your project. But if you don't go all the way to step 4, the documents that you did not publish are still there, but nobody can see them. All right, so just be aware of that. There are 2 web portals that are related to Bluebeam Drawings to be aware of. This one is for administrators, your license administrators. If you manage your own license, you can go to portal.bluebeam.com/gateway. And inside there is where you manage your license, but it's also where you manage your Bluebeam Drawings account and the various things that are going on. It's where you designate who can and cannot be an uploader for your particular projects. And then there's the user side of it if you're not using one of the mobile apps, and that's a web portal that just says drawings.bluebeam.com. You use your BBID, you log in, you immediately have access to the projects to which you've been granted access. All right? So getting out of that and going into Bluebeam, let's start taking a look at it. About 20 minutes left. I'm going to go to Studio and I'm going to log in, and that's just inside a review. I'll hit sign in. I'll give it my BBID password, which is no longer in there. Okay, and I'm going to close this PowerPoint that I put together. I've got a series of studio projects, and I've got a collection of studio sessions. All right, these are the ones that are virtual conference rooms where we can work together, and these are the ones that are a virtual filing cabinet where we can share files and communicate with each other. The way these got created is I went to the little plus sign on the interface and I clicked and I said, I want to create a new session. And when I did that, all I'm required to give it is a name. Now I could put in ORL bug live, for example. I don't have any documents open at the current time, but if I did, I could simply hit add open documents, or I could go to add and choose them from my local drive or any accessible drive. I get to choose the permissions that I'm going to grant to the people that I let in, including the ability to add their own documents if I choose to do that. The default presumption is that you want to restrict access to this studio session to only invited people. That is the default. If that's not what you want, you would want to turn that off. And now that opens it up to the entire world. Anyone that you share your 9-digit code with would be able to come in and collaborate with you on your documents. All right. This is the setting where you can have it automatically time out at a specific date and time. But I'm going to leave both of those off and I'm just going to hit go. And it's going to create this session and it's going to assign it a 9-digit number, which it's done right here, 452-452-913. Now, continuing with the creation process, it's going to ask me who do you want to invite in. And I can start entering email addresses. I can hit my address book and invite those people or distribution lists, the things that I want to do there, include an additional message, or I can copy the invitation and send direct email messages that I want to the people I want in. But this one is completely unrestricted, so I can just kill that and it's good to go. I didn't add any documents, but I can always come back and in this little interface right here, I can say, hey, now I'm ready to add some documents and let's get going. So I want to take a look at a session that's already active, that there's already some participation in. So I'm going to go to this other one that I launched a couple of days ago. This one has been visited by 4 or 5 different people, by me, by Mary, by one of the Bluebeam employees who's a panelist today, and me on another computer as someone else. And if you look at these various markups, you can see the various colors and things and so on. But there's in this audit trail on the lower left-hand corner of the interface is what they call the record. And in that record, it's got a list of everything everybody did. Right now, Mary only has 1 markup in this studio session, or 2 technically, those red ones there. But she added a text box, edited a text box, moved a text box, added it, and then deleted all of her markups. So every single thing she's ever done is being tracked inside of it. Even the fact that somebody came in, looked around, and left without doing anything at all. So it's a really wonderful audit trail that you can keep track of. There's a chat feature into it, and I can put in here update docs by Friday. And not only do the participants get that message, but it's a permanent record of this audit trail that can be reported upon later on if I choose to do that. Now, one of the things I can do that I really think is helpful is if I'm on the phone with someone having a conversation about what we're doing and I really want to understand what they're telling me, I can go to any one of the other project participants and I can go in there and I can say follow that attendee, and what it will do is it will synchronize my view with their view so that whatever they're doing I'm seeing on my screen. I just have to keep my hands off of my mouse. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say follow someone else, and what that is actually done is that is now synchronized with my other computer where I'm logged in as that person called someone else, and the orange indicator in the center next to the purple cloud is actually their mouse. So on my other computer, as I start moving my mouse around, you're able to see exactly where my mouse is and see exactly what I'm doing. If I start moving the screen around and I'm trying to, in our conversation, point out to you, this door right here has a real problem, and I come in and I'm drawing this information. you're able to see exactly what I'm doing as I'm doing it, and our machines are synchronized for that period of time. It's a really powerful tool. At any time, I can click in the screen or start doing something else, and it breaks that connection with the other user. Now, you may have noticed how my screen is flashing orange over here with notifications and pending. What that's all about is when you're in a session, if you see a markup that you think somebody else should know about, all right, you can choose that markup if it's not your own, all right, and you can right click on it. And that's the first thing to really think about with studio sessions when we're doing markups, is that we're protected from each other while we're in the cloud. Anything you do, I can't touch, even though I'm the host, and vice versa. But what I can do is I could reply to your comment. I could change the status of it to any one of the status workflows that we've defined, or I could alert someone about your markup. So I could choose this markup that was done by the person called someone else, and I could choose another individual and say notify them about that. Well, that's what I did on my other computer. I chose a markup and I said Terry needs to know about that, and that's what's happening here. Is this is someone else has alerted you to look at this particular markup, and it's got a date and time stamp on it. And if I click on it, then it will immediately magnify that to the screen. So it's got wonderful communication capabilities built into it, in addition to just simply doing markups. In fact, before I ever came into review, I automatically got an email. I'm going to bring my email over to you right here. I got this email earlier today telling me beforehand that someone else has alerted you to this cloud, and it's even got a hot link built into it that I could click on, and it would automatically go into Bluebeam Studio Session and bring my attention to that particular tool there. So if you haven't done any experimentation with sessions, or you haven't utilized some of these tools, by all means begin to utilize them. With the limited time we have, I'm going to jump over to projects and show you just a couple of things, and then I want to get into drawings in the last 10 or 12 minutes we've got here. These are a series of filing cabinets, and if I go to the one called AIA Project, the folder structure of this one was based upon what type of documents were grouped together. So I can go to electrical plans or architectural plans or interior plans, or whatever it may be. But it doesn't have to be like that. Here's another studio project that was for roadway documents that are just, everything's in one folder. Here's one for the Orlando bug. This is not that session. This is a project where I decided to segregate my documents based on file types. So I've got my AutoCAD files, my MicroStation files, my PDF files, which are divided into 2D PDFs versus 3D PDFs, and so on. In here, if you allow particular people to manipulate your shared and stored documents, they can come in and grab a file, and they can right click, and they can check out or open that document, and it will bring it to their local machine, and it will allow them to edit it and put it back. And if they do that, they'll have to explain upon check-in why they did what they did, and that is all written to this revision history that's tracked for each document. So this Excel spreadsheet, I uploaded it a couple of days ago, and early this morning I checked it out and I revised bid item line numbers 325 and 414. If I wanted to continue with that, I could open it again and modify it one more time. In fact, I'll do that. I've configured my system so that when I hit open, it does a checkout first, and then it goes and does an open. So this is line 402, and I'm going to change that price to $66, and I'm going to save my file. I'm going to get out of Excel, and I could choose to undo the checkout and throw all that away, or I could say update the server copy and keep it checked out and continue to manipulate it, but keep the server copy up to date, or I could check it in, and here I would say modified. And yeah, obviously better detail than that. But now my revision history is going to come in here and show me that there are 3 versions of this document. I could choose any one of them, including the past versions, and open that revision. And if I like what I see here and decide that, you know, that one actually should be the most up to date, you can actually restore a revision as well. And it's not just with Excel spreadsheets. That works with any file type that you choose to put up there and store. Right? So these are Studio projects are cloud-based storage filing cabinets. All right? So now, completely separate, let's talk about Bluebeam Drawings. All right? So if I go to a browser and I choose to use Chrome, it doesn't matter which one you do, and I go to Bluebeam Drawings, I need to log in the same as I would in a Bluebeam app, and I'm going to use the exact same BBID. Again, if you don't have an account, you can create one right there, and I'm just going to sign in. Now, it's my account, and it's showing me all of my projects, whether I'm attending or I created them myself, and it's showing me all of the ones that exist on the studio server for my particular Bluebeam ID. All right. Not everybody can see what I can see because I have control over this. In fact, if I go look at my AIA project and I look at that, I have 15 documents that have been published, and anyone I let into my drawing project, they're able to see all 15 of those documents. But I actually have 2 more that have never been published. And what I'm going to do while we're speaking here is I'm going to launch an application. Let me minimize this for just 1 second. And I'm going to launch an application that will allow me to show my iPad. And I'll show you what's happening on my iPad with Bluebeam Drawings. Screen. Okay, and let's hop out of that. And we'll go into Bluebeam Drawings. Okay, and I'm logging in as someone else, and I can see the AIA project. And when I click on it, we can see the same 15 files that I can see in the server. So if I slide the iPad out of the way and go back to my browser, I'm logged in right here under Bluebeam Drawings. Right here are 2 documents that I took all the way to step 3. I uploaded them. I reviewed them. I made sure that their drawing number, their title, their discipline, their issue date, and their revision information. I made everything sure everything was perfect, but I never pulled the trigger on step 4, which is publish drawings. So that's why they never showed up to the outside world, to the various people that I had granted access to that particular project. So if I go back to my iPad now as a different, project participant using drawings, and I go in and I hit my available projects, it immediately notifies me here that there are 2 updates that are available for that particular project. And when I hit that, it says there are 2 updates available. It shows me the size of them if I want to download them to my iPad, and I'm going to say, yep, download them both. And now what it's done is it's updated my access to that project to include all 17 documents. Now, if you look closely at Bluebeam Drawings, there's one document, it's the A1 2.1, that has a little bit of color in it, but it also has right there, it's got an indicator. It's hard to see on the screen here, so I'm going to move the iPad out of the way and go back to the PC, but it looks like that right there. It looks like a wristwatch, it's a clock type of thing. And that's a visual indicator that that specific document has slip sheeting active in it, to where there's an older version of that particular page. And to see that on either the iPad or the PC, all you have to do is click on that document and it opens it up. And in the case of the iPad, in the upper right hand corner, there's a blue clock up there. And if you tap on that, it shows you the 2 editions of that particular document. And if you go to version 1, it will show you the previous condition, But just like on the PC where it normally stamps it with a big red superseded stamp, here it's telling you with that big red bar that I'm allowing you to see this version of the document, but it is not the most current version. And if you want, you can just go choose the most current version and then make sure that you're up to date and have access to all of the documents for that particular drawing project. Right? Now, here's the thing: is Studio projects and Bluebeam drawings are interrelated with each other. And excuse me, I'm jumping to my clock to see how much time I've got left. About 3.5 minutes. If I come in here, now this is not Studio, this is Bluebeam drawings, and I decide to create a new Bluebeam drawings project, and I say this is created using Bluebeam drawings, and I create that project, it's there. It's also assigned a 9-digit number just like it is with Studio Project. In fact, if I go back to Bluebeam, if I just tab over to Bluebeam here, all right, I am currently logged in, but if I just log myself out and come back into Bluebeam Studio, because I created that using the same BBID, as soon as I come in and I look at my list of projects, I'm going to see created using Bluebeam drawings. All right. Now, you got to understand this is not a bi-directional, constantly updated link. I cannot go in there and upload files and make changes to them and have them automatically reflected in the Bluebeam drawing server. They are linked together so that whatever I do here is available over there. But if I have in the case of this AIA project, I've got that one document with the under architectural plans, this one here that has that red stuff on it. I'm going to open that and modify it. I'm going to double click on it, which does the open. It opens it up in Bluebeam. I'm going to add a cloud around this information here. All right, and I'm going to exit out of that, and I'm going to save that change. All right, and I'm going to update the server saying added cloud. Now, that's all been recorded. It's in the revision history, but none of that has been communicated with Bluebeam drawings. All right. If I wanted to update my Bluebeam drawings server to have that information, I would need to go to that project and I would need to upload a new version of that file, either from my computer or from the project. So I'm going to say project, architectural plans. I'm going to go grab that particular one that I just modified. I'm going to hit next. I'm going to add that file, and it's telling me it needs to be processed. We'll send you an email when it's ready. All right, now an example of what that looks like I've got saved over here under my email. All right, right here, if I go back, and I'll be wrapping up here in just a moment, this is what the email looks like. You have selected to upload these files. We'll let you know when they're done processing. And then a few minutes later, I get this saying your files are ready for review, and there's even a link inside of it. How long it takes depends on how many files and the complexity and all of that. But you can see right here where it says processing files. Eventually, that's going to say processed. And what I would do is simply go in there, review the information, select that document, and hit that publish button. And as soon as I do that, then this project, this AIA project, would have, it wouldn't obviously change because it's already got a revision history feature to it, but what it would do is update that with the new revision. So whenever I viewed it and went to the history, there would be not just 1 and 2, but there would be 3 versions of that particular file's history. Right? So going back to Bluebeam and wrapping this up. Okay. So in summary, there's Bluebeam Studio, which comes with review. It's free, but it has 2 halves, Studio Sessions and Studio Projects. And then completely separate from that is a alternative, additional free service that comes with review that is called Bluebeam Drawings. And it allows view-only access to your documents. But here's the beauty of it. somebody asked the question of why doesn't Bluebeam support the Android? With Bluebeam Drawings, it does. When you put something into Studio for either a session or a project, you really can't access that from just a browser. There's no mobile app on the Android to be able to access a studio session or a studio project. But by using drawings, you're opening up the world to anybody on any device to be able to either use one of the two mobile apps or to be able to use nothing but a browser and be able to go to your managed projects and be able to access the documents that you've shared. Right? So that's all I had, Mary and Angela. If you've got some parting words, I think we're maybe just a minute or two over.
Yes, and I think Angela has a final slide to put up. I am so sorry, guys, for the technical difficulties on my end up front at the beginning. And I think, full disclosure, when I sent out the link on Monday, I didn't realize there was a separate invite for participants and attendees, so I sent you guys my panelist invite. That's why there's like 10 Marys on here. So if you notice your name says Mary Mead and you're not me, feel free to just shoot me or Angela or both of us an email after this. We just want to know who's here and to mark you guys and so we can send you some information about the beta testing.
Mary, if I could interrupt just one moment. There was one question that I just now saw. It says, how do you get Bluebeam Drawings? It's available. It's that cloud-based server. It's called drawings.bluebeam.com. Simply use your BBID to log in there and get started.
All right. Thanks, Terry. So thank you guys again so much for joining. I promise if we do Q3 virtual, I will get better versed on Zoom before we do that. But speaking of Q3, again, if there's anybody that wants to present or has any ideas that wants to present, please let me know. You can type them in the chat. You can email me or LinkedIn the group anytime. Angela as well. So with that, that's all I have. Again, I really appreciate you guys being here. I wish we could meet in person, but I promise you we'll make up for it. And thank you so much to Terry and our awesome Rover presentation as well. I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank God I wasn't presenting with how the intro went. And with that, I'll turn it over to Angela.
No problem. We all know technical difficulties. So yes, Terry, thank you so much for presenting. Mary, for you, putting this all together. As we shared, please do make sure your information is in the chat window. The Project Rover team will follow up with, we'll be sending a separate email to all attendees. And then within the next couple of days, Mary and I, we'll be taking the meeting recording, sending the opening announcements and Terry's presentation. So we just want to make sure that's all squared away and the presentation slide deck. So with that, have a wonderful day and thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
So long, everybody.